wondering what you're looking at this week. Of course, we have CPI on Thursday, PPI on Friday, but this first half of the week is kind of quiet. How are you looking at setups this week, Ivan?
I was asked by chat to look at pound dollar. I'm still expecting bearishness on dollar, so everything comes down to the CPI later this week. So right now I would say that we are currently having a bullish reversal on pound dollar. So just need a new higher high. Could have probably have bought the pullback to 27.40, but it's a bit aggressive. But other than that, given that CPI is lower than expected, this one can take a turn higher.
Yeah, it's interesting just to see kind of the dollar this week is a real hot topic, right? Because of course you have CPI and as James mentioned as we got started on this show, expectations are actually for inflation to tick up, which should be very interesting to see how that plays into the narrative of whether or not the Fed will raise rates. So do you have a position open on pound USD? And if not, how do you plan to approach this one this week?
Oh, this is easy peasy lemon squeezy. Higher high, higher low, catch the pullback, back down to resistance turning support. There you go. Stop loss below that.
Enough.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah, no, I like that setup. I mean, I think if you're looking at pound USD, it'll be interesting to see that there's probably some correlation there with the indices. So in that case, if we get like a weaker CPI number than what is expected, certainly could be an interesting one to watch. Pound USD, plenty of counters to the dollar will obviously move a lot. You got SPX pulled up. Do you have any trades open? Is this a position for you right now?
Yes, sir. It's currently a losing position. But my stop loss is 44.50, I think it is. So I tried on Friday and I am in serious loss. But hey, what is it? $10? I just tried and then I will put my normal lot size on, but it's kind of like a dart more than anything else. And it's kind of not going great, but it is what it is.
Did you know that you can watch Trader Nick live stream every morning, Monday through Friday, with guests from all around the world? Each morning, right here on the A1 Trading YouTube channel, we put on a live show where Trader Nick, along with some very special guests, go over their charts and ideas for every kind of asset. We do a live reaction to news drops and do analysis immediately following. You never know what's going to happen during one of our streams. So come be a part of the live stream community. You can find our live streaming schedule on the A1 Trading Twitter account each week so you never miss a news event.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same spot. I mean, the indices, it seems like, a pullback here is still a pullback in my opinion until proven otherwise. I've got the NASDAQ pulled up similar to your S&P 500. For me, I mentioned this earlier, for NASDAQ, we're at support, and if we don't hold that support, I'm gonna have to get out of the way, especially with CPI. But yeah, we'll see if it can hold. You've got SPX, I've got NAS 100, and we'll have to watch that one to see what happens. I mean, what do you think, Ivan, with the CPI? Do you think it really impacts SPX one way or the other?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. And the funny thing is, it does opposite of dollar. So if CPI is lower than expected, then S&P 500 goes higher. And if it's higher than expected, then CPI, then SPX goes lower, because of if we have higher than expected inflation, we will then have higher than expected financing costs, especially in tech.
Yep, obviously it makes sense from a business perspective. Higher borrowing costs hurt companies, and so you have to be aware of that. So Ivan, when you get these quiet times, heading into kind of the back half of this week, which is much more exciting, how do you approach this? Do you take setups during this time? Do you hold off? Walk us through, I guess, your process here. So that pound USD you mentioned, if that sets up, that's a possible trade scenario for you. You take that trade before CPI if it comes up to set up.
Yeah. As there is no fear in me And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Then fair enough, whatever. So what I want to say overall is a bullish trend. Now we all have different techniques of how to find that, but I think we all can agree that we're currently quite bearish. So I need on the 4-hour a break of previous highs. So currently I don't have that. So right now I would say it is at the resistance to fall for sure, fall further, or it will be my first entry that I'm able to take. And I kind of more than anything would like to see, of course everyone would see this bullishness, but if I'm gonna pinpoint of where we currently are, I would argue that we are kind of where that candle is, like somewhere in that direction. So I just need a higher high. I can even come back down to this lows for that matter. But I choose to take the aggressive one since that's the easiest one and most comfortable one for me. And then the target is more like, up here, back up to the previous high.
Yeah, no, I think the pound USD would be very interesting. And when you talk about it from the daily chart perspective, I've got the chart pulled up for the daily. You're right. I mean, it is a longer term bullish structure, right? You've got a longer term, higher lows, higher highs. And, Ivan, we talk about this often, but, 2022 with the dollar strength, it was a different market environment, right? This is 2022, right? The dollar was just so strong and the pound dropped to levels that I think it might have been an all-time low for the pound against the US dollar. But that was a very different environment than what we in. And when you really zoom out and when you look at the setting that we're in now, you have a much more sort of optimistic outlook than there was last year around this time. Last year around this time, there was no real signs of inflation cooling. There was, things happening that were making the market really fearful, right? More rate hikes, more rate hikes, more rate hikes with no kind of end in sight. Whereas now there is kind of an end in sight. Even if they do raise rates another time, sentiment is pretty much that we're nearing the end of the rate hike cycle. And an ending rate hike cycle means at some point the dollar bearishness could come in, and that dollar bearishness has and likely could continue to rally the pound on a longer term basis. Now, you mentioned in the shorter term, sellers seem to kind of be in control of this market, but sellers need to be aware that they are in a longer term uptrend and they've run a pretty good course here. So again, you're buying, or if you're trying to sell right now, you have to just be aware that on the higher time frames, you're selling into what probably would be considered a nice value area for longer term traders and investors. So what do you think? I mean, other than pound, anything else? You looking at euro at all?
I just want to point out quite something that I do always point out is that the end of this year, half a year that I call it 14th of June, which was the Fed meeting, we basically did a full circle or full rebound 4 days ago on Thursday, I think it is. So we are basically on Thursday hadn't done any change, just volatility in between in the summer. That's kind of how I would explain the summer, is that it generally doesn't move. If it trends, it does come back down to where it originally came from, and sure enough, it did do that this year as well. When it comes to euro, I'm still waiting for euro yen to do its thing. Meaning I need it to drop, I need it to fall. If this is the bottom, I'm probably not going to grab it. But the other thing with euro dollar, I want this to be bullish, but I'm like, is this how bullishness is supposed to look like? And I remember saying, I don't know where I said it, probably on Friday, I needed to break higher high and higher low, or this is going to be the resistance on Friday. And sure enough, it ended up being the resistance. I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah, no, Euro will be interesting as well this week. Pretty much everything against the dollar will move a lot. For those of you guys who are newer to trading, we know, a lot of people new people watch these streams all the time. If you are new, the big news outlets that are happening this week are on Thursday and Friday. Both are inflation reports out of the United States. They will move the US dollar. They will also move lots of things: gold, silver, indices, right? SPX, NAS, whatever you're watching will move on those days. But Ivan, I asked you that question specifically. I am the same way when it comes to trading before news. But you have to understand, guys, trading before news does not mean, when I asked Ivan that, we're not talking about like 30 seconds before the news taking a big buy or a big sell. That is really, really dangerous, and can get traders into a lot of trouble. Well, I asked Ivan that days in advance, would you be trading this certain setup? And he said yes, and I do the same thing, right? So if there's a setup, I will take it, even if I know news is a couple days out, but it's because we're swing traders. And as swing traders, inevitably, you're going to hold positions during news sometimes. If you were getting out every single time there was news, you would just be a day trader, because again, you'd have to exit trades all the time. So thanks for clarifying that, Ivan. Is there anything else, Ivan, that you're watching here today? Anything else pressing for you?
Well, I just want to add, and the most important thing is that it doesn't shift our psychology. That if it goes against us and there is news and whatever, it doesn't really matter to me, and it doesn't to you either. So like, it doesn't shift us, it doesn't change us, because when you are inexperienced, you're like, well, that went wrong, and you do it again, oh, that went wrong, and then all of a sudden they start creeping like, am I even a good trader? Because you keep losing. And I really, well, hate is not the word, but I really dislike when traders are not objective enough in their trading. Like, what kind of setups am I trading right now? For example, if I was to trade Aussie yen, for example, right now, am I in a good position to trade? And not really, because, you know, the fall started, well, 200 pips ago-ish. Is this a favorable place for me? Not really. It's kind of the end of it. And once you start categorizing your trades and be like, what is this opportunity? Like, I would say that in this fall, there should be opportunity here. So there should be a pullback there where there's not. So there is number 2, there is number 3, and that's the latest I can sell until it becomes too late. So people need to like be very clear and confident, not overconfident, but just confident in what they're doing. And news is the fastest way to lose that confidence.
Yep. You have to be very, very careful. And again, you're going to catch yourself chasing your tail. If you're trading news, that is the exciting thing for new traders. They love to jump in and day trade NFP, and you know, there's a lot of excitement there. But with that excitement, that's where usually people lose a ton of money. Am I saying you should never take trades anywhere near news? No, I do it all the time. I'm saying gambling on the release is very different than taking a swing trade before or perhaps after a major announcement. And again, when I say before, I probably leave a couple hours before, you know, news, where I'm not taking any trades. I may manage my trade. I might move stops if I have something, or I may close out of a position if I really don't want to hold it. But again, I'm not, opposed, as Ivan has mentioned too. We're not opposed to taking trades. I wanted to show a quick chart here. This is the VIX. For those of you guys who do not use the VIX, whether you're a Forex trader, a stock trader, currency trader, it doesn't matter. The VIX is a really cool indicator that I think everyone should keep on their watch list. The VIX shows, it is essentially a volatility index for the markets. It's looking at the options market especially. It's also looking, this is basically showing the expected volatility of the market. And so right now you can actually see that the VIX is up. So the volatility is expanding. We're seeing expectations for markets to be volatile here. And this would also kind of make sense. You have CPI on the horizon. Markets are also seeing earnings season right now, which causes a lot of volatility for the indices especially. So keep an eye on that sort of thing. I just wanted to show you guys that just an abnormally high level of volatility. I've got a Bollinger Band applied to this, essentially showing when these levels of volatility spike like this, usually, but not always, we usually see volatility start to quiet. So personally, I'll probably be looking to sell some options here today. in this volatility spike, that's usually when I like to do it. You get a lot of premium selling at these levels, so because everyone assumes that there's going to be volatility. So I'll probably be looking at some of that today. Ivan, anything else before we wrap up here? Anything else you're watching?
Well, I just want to tell my overall plan. So as a very short, I'm expecting yen pairs somewhere between 15th to 20th of August to have a low. So this can continue on for a couple of days, a week or so of range bound or bearishness. So I am not like excited for this bearishness, but I'm waiting for bullishness somewhere in a 2 weeks time, and expecting that to last at least until mid-September. Quite rapid rising market, so we shall see what happens again this year.
Don't forget to check out the links in the description if you want our broker recommendation, access to our free Discord, free EDGEFINDER, or want to chat with us on Telegram. Remember, you can watch us live in the markets every morning starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we have lots more free trading tools and content available on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching.